Well, what it is, a new show on NCTV, and I'm very thrilled that my first guest is Bill McGoldrick, a musician of some note. And I'm so glad to have him here. We're going to talk about what it's like to be a musician. Oh, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so happy to have you. So now, tell me something. Did you start as a kid being interested in music? And when did you start playing? And what did you start playing?
Yeah, I was about 9 or 10 years old. It was when the Beatles, right after the Beatles. Everybody my age, you know. Prior to that, guitar was not the most popular instrument. The minute we saw folks in the early 60s, the Beatles, we said, we want to be just like them. And so there were thousands and thousands. Guitars started selling big time, and everybody had a band, everybody had a garage, and everybody was playing, driving our parents crazy.
So how'd you get your first guitar?
My uncle bought it because I grew up very, single mom, not a lot of money, in the city, in Austin, Brighton, and I saw a guitar in Woolworths on Harvard Ave in Austin.
Woolworths.
It was up on the wall, $19. That was 19 more than I had.
Right.
And my uncle, who was a dishwasher at City Hall Hospital, bought it for me, and it was awful. It was a horrible guitar, hard to play because that's where a lot of the 60s guitars were really bad guitars, but I didn't care. I just played it every night, 10, 12 hours on Saturdays and Sundays.
Was it like the line in the song, "Till your fingers bled"?
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And then, so you went to Latin school.
Yeah.
Back in the days when you really had to, had to be good to get into Latin school.
Much music
unless of course, you were connected to somebody in town.
I did music outside of school for the most part, yeah. Because it was rock and roll. That's all I was interested in.
And so did you get together with other kids while you were in high school?
My first band was a bunch of kids from Latin school, and we played over in West Roxbury. We played our first...
At parties, or?
No, we only played a few gigs. We played in a trio with our bass player, me, Joe Wilkinson, who was the drummer, who was a buddy of mine to this day, and he and I went to Latin, and we both went to Berkeley together, Berkeley College of Music. And another guy, Stephen Cox, who was infamous. We won't talk about Stephen, but it was a trio, and we played the Boathouse right near the Esplanade, right on the river. 1970, June 1970. Did you? That's
and you got
49 years ago.
You actually got hired.
Who knows?
I mean, were you paid? Do you remember, or you?
Who knows? I don't know. I think my friend Joe's dad got us there, and his sister went to the boathouse. There's this cool boathouse right next to the Esplanade, right in the city. So we played that our first gig. God knows what I had for equipment.
Now, did they ever ask you to play at Lars Anderson Park the night before the prom? The night of the prom before everybody went to the prom?
No, but
I went to the Lars Anderson Park.
When I went to Berkeley in the 70s, I played hundreds of proms. For 4 years, I was in one of the top bands called Formations, and Formations was one of the top bands in what was called the Surf. The Surf was the big booking agency out of Hull. We were right down there in Paragon Park,
right,
in Nantasket there, and that was Nantasket, right? Yeah, and so I played every prom, every high school, all over, and I did not have 4 years at Berkeley. I did not have to work a regular job. I played music, and we were making good money back then.
Wow,
it isn't much more today.
Well, that's saying a lot.
Later. Yeah, no, it was good. I didn't have to work a regular job. It just really played gigs.
So, do you remember what was it like for you the first time that you stepped out and there were more than just a few people listening? Do you remember that? I mean,
I can't remember.
Was it scary or was it exhilarating?
I've never really had stage fright. Sometimes, it's recently. Last month, I played at the Boston Marathon, a big event at the Boston Park Plaza. It was one of those sort of running events, speakers. The head of the BAA was there. There were about 400 people, the big ballroom, the Park Plaza. I got a little nervous in that one because it was like, okay, get up and play a song. And we did, and it worked out, but I was a little nervous there because it was so unnatural to walk out onto a big stage like that, play one song, and then walk off to 400 people all watching.
Why just one?
Because it was an event,
but you had a group
event
with you. You were in a
the gal, and I don't go out usually by myself. I usually go out with my Bill McGoldrick acoustic duo, with the best female vocalist in Boston, and I was with, I think, the best, Cherie Dunwell, and she was running the marathon. and she was doing it for. She's unbelievable. Just a side story is in 8 years has raised $100,000 running the 8 Boston marathons. I used to be a runner too. I ran Boston 8 times. So
did
she's
you?
caught up to me. So it was one of those sort of unnatural sort of things.
Yes.
So I got a little nervous because everybody was just watching us.
Yeah.
And I had to sing.
Right.
It was that song "Shallow" from A Star Is Born. So, and I don't normally sing, so it was. I was a little nervous then, but I used to play football. It's like, once you get hit first, you're okay. So once we get going, I was okay, but I was a little nervous prior.
Now I'm going to check with the question. Now, who paid for that song? Did the?
I did that for nothing.
No, no. I mean, who paid to be able to cover this? Who paid?
There's
for
none of that.
No.
No. I mean, it's
it's not public domain.
Every venue in the world pays rights management fees.
The venue.
To the major rights organizations, BMI and ASCAP.
So the venue pays it.
A place like the Boston Park Plaza has all that under control. It's just the nature. Every little bar, every little restaurant, when you hear music playing in the background, there is a fee paid to the rights organizations. And eventually, that money trickles down to very small amounts to the artist.
Because, we ran into something, because I had some seconds of Layla for my state and local for I don't know how many years.
Right.
And then all of a sudden,
Right.
I had to go in with the garage band with Andrew and make some new music. But I said, oh no!
Get some
after all
public
that
domain
time
stuff. It's just and that's a
I mean, we're just
broader
chickens here in
subject.
Norfolk. I mean, but they.
I know that's a broader subject that has to do with the industry being really in a bad situation right now, because it's really gone to streaming where the artists get very little, and because they get very little, they have come down the past 10 years hard on all these areas right now. But I mean, for instance, when your song gets played on Spotify, you get 0.6 or 7 O's to the 1.
Wow.
Per, so you're not making the money. That's why bands like the Stones and the Who are still playing, because when they play live, that can't be stolen. For the most part, they're just not getting paid any royalties anymore.
Yeah.
The business has stopped.
Well, my nephew played on Stanley Holloway's, I don't know if you know him, but Stanley Holloway's album a while back, and he said it was something like, but maybe it was lower than this, something like 10 cents per record that sold, or maybe it was even less than that.
Yeah, well, 10 cents would be a big deal today because, again, people aren't buying records. Records are not being bought at all. Like 0.01% are
except
buying
people that are into vinyl.
Yeah, and that's actually that's
I
a
think
growing
it had
thing.
gone.
Young kids are getting to that. My 25-year-old, 26-year-old is into vinyl, but that's sort of a one-off. The industry, for the most part, is in shambles and economically, and they're still trying to figure out the way forward right now, so that artists can get paid for creating art.
Right.
It's like, I mean, if you buy a Monet right now, it's worth millions, Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run, it's just not getting the money it used to. It's just the nature of the business. The music businesses. The arts have always been difficult to make money.
That's right. That's right.
In general. That's why I spent 40 years in high tech and doing music on the side.
Did you?
Because, it's just if you want to raise a family, have kids, buy a nice house and that sort of thing, have a retirement, music is a tough road to go.
It is. And I mean, when you think of all these really talented people that never, like even to the extent of my nephew, they even get to that point where he plays in D.C. and he has somebody that sets up the things and they bring him in and this and that. And I think he was at the White House, once, and he plays the Cosmo. Well, you probably wouldn't know. It's like a social. He does like a lot of social type, high society type things too.
Right.
And it's. Not everybody even gets to that point where they can even teach.
And I've done those for years, and this is the same sort of business. It's in the past 10 years, my duo has probably done about 1,200 gigs, and I've played with the best female vocalists, much of them young kids from Berkeley, and unbelievably talented, Anne Marie, unbelievably talented. Out of all of those young women, only one has gone to the next level. There's a woman by the name of Ingrid Andress, whom I think you're going to hear Taylor Swift level, Adele level, this young girl. And she was playing gigs with me at the Concord Colonial Inn, and small little gigs. I played in Nashville with her, but she was signed by Warner, and that's how you make it in the industry right now. There are only 3 or 4 majors, what we call majors, and those are major labels. Warner is probably the biggest. She was signed by Warner last year, and she's got an album coming out right now, and she was on Seth Meyers 3 weeks ago. So she's making a breakthrough, but even then, I don't know how successful. What the level of success will be.
But it's also getting played on the radio, too. Isn't that a big part of it?
Well, radio's changing, radio's fading. It's all going internet. It's radio.com and iHeartMedia is all.
Oh, so in other words, you don't have to listen to the radio. Oh, I guess I'm so out of it. I mean, because I listen to the radio in the car. I don't think about
we all do.
Getting, but they have these other ways to stream in the car.
Have Sirius radio.
All right.
Satellite radio is pretty much what I listen to exclusively right now. And this young woman, Ingrid Andress, is on the country channels. It's like I know Ingrid's going to make it because she's a breakthrough. Because my daughter was at the dentist right here in Norfolk, eye doctor up in Medfield.
And heard her
on a series on local country radio in the dentist's office.
Oh, okay. So that's going.
If you're getting that,
that's right.
Well, my point of the matter is, it's a very difficult industry, and it's very difficult to make money. And but we do it. Most of us do it because we love it, because we can't not do it. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm gonna use that to segue into Jen. Would you please do the honors? We have a clip.
Oh, great. Well, let me intro that clip.
Okay.
I do my acoustic act, and I've played in bands for years, all different types of bands, all over the place. So doing this acoustic act was a lot of fun. But I wanted to play rock and roll, and I get questions all the time. It's like, Bill, do you play electric? Guitar's guitar. It's a fretboard, frets, strings, and if you plug it in, it's no real difference. But people ask me all the time. So I put a band together that didn't last long, and we did some recordings here. And here's a blues song. These 3 guys, the 3 of us, I thought were really good. And the drummer's amazing, and the bass player, Alex Stevenson, is great. And the drummer was Al Falcone. Great guys. So here's that clip.
Just what you sow. Well, saying it's true. You're gonna reap what you sow.
Now, forgive me, but you're all of a certain age, which I like.
Yes. What do you mean by that?
Well, I get to say it.
Old guys.
Believe me, I have the right to say it.
It's interesting. I play this place over in Milford all the time, and and I love to do it. They have a social the first Monday of every month. And it's all kids. Kids to me are 30 and 40.
Yeah, okay, right.
And occasionally, us old guys, it's me, I'm one of the oldest of this crew, and another guy was even 10 years older than me. And we get up there and we play. We love showing the kids that, hey, guess what? Old guys can do it too.
Well, you know what, tangential to that is, I remember years ago when I was coming up, you didn't have really much older or much younger friends. You just didn't.
Right.
And now, I mean, some of my best friends are like 10 years younger than me, and then I have other friends that are 10 years older. And that a lot of that, thank God, has kind of faded away.
It's interesting, and the same with music too, because my duo has really been all around me doing everything and working with the young, very young. And I'm playing tonight at a place, a hotel up in Lexington tonight, and the girl's 40 years younger than me.
Oh.
And she's, I think, the level, I told you about Ingrid Andress, this girl's name is Stephanie James. I think she's about that level. As well, and she's moved to LA. She was just home for a couple of weeks, and look up Stephanie James. She's got what I call it. She's got it.
Yeah.
And I've made both of them promise, both Ingrid and Stephanie, that when they are headlining Gillette, that old Bill gets behind the stage, and maybe they get me a song on the stage. So I'm hoping one of these girls is like the next Adele, or who's Taylor Swift.
I forgot to mention that you have a show now on NCTV.
Yes,
I forgot
I do,
to mention.
yeah.
And so are you starting out at beginning guitar. How are you doing that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We're starting out with, this is the name of this string, E, A,
Yeah,
and
well,
this is a C chord.
Right.
And we've done 3, and we're going to keep on going. I don't know how many I'll do. Again, I graduated from Berkeley in the 70s. I can play at the, I'm not bragging. It's just, once you do something for half a century, you get pretty good at it. Or
you stop.
So we're doing the basic stuff like that. And hopefully we get some people watching.
It's a great idea. And of course, since it'll be on YouTube, they can always go back, or stop it and start it if they've, what they've missed.
Exactly. And it's free.
Yeah.
It's free. It's paid for by the taxpayers, I guess, or the cable companies or
yeah,
whatever.
And
it's good for young kids. Or I'm teaching now again, so I just retired theoretically
and where do
a
you
couple of
teach?
months ago at Highland Conservatory in Newton.
Oh.
And I've got all older than 50 students. Older than 50. I got one doctor who's over 70, just picked up a year and a half ago, and he's doing very well. It's interesting. I think a lot of these guys, I haven't had any female students yet, but it's a lot of these guys grew up in the same time I did. So the Beatles and the Who and the Eagles, and they don't golf, they don't have boats, whatever. So, but it's really cool that in their mid 50s, mid 60s, even 70s, they said, I wanted to play guitar, and you can play guitar, and we talk about it in this series. It depends on what you have. 10 is Eric Clapton, and 1 is you. Where do you want to go? You can do a 3. If you get to a 3, and I think it'll probably take 20 to 30 hours to get to a 3 level, you'll learn 6 to 7 chords and probably know 3,000 or 4,000 songs.
Well, now, of course, you have to factor in the talent and the ear.
Talent, again.
No?
I like people what I call PhDs, poor, hungry, and driven. if they're driven enough and they're hungry enough, you can override what God gave you as talent. Just by working at it. You can get to a level. You might not be 10 Eric Clapton. I don't even think Eric's a 7. Eddie Van Halen's a 10.
So I'm going to ask an ignorant question. I'm not afraid to expose my ignorance. I've done it before. Unplugged means not electric?
No, that's not true. When
Okay.
Eric Clapton was the first one to do an MTV Unplugged, and he was all plugged in. But it was acoustic. It was acoustic sort of. So this is an acoustic guitar. But guess what? You can plug it in right there.
Okay.
And it has volume.
Okay.
And all this sort of stuff here. So I can. I call my act the Bill McGoldrick Acoustic Duo, but we're plugged into a PA system, and I got microphones and all that sort of stuff.
So what is acoustic?
Acoustic guitar is this sort of thing with a big hole in it,
Yeah.
like that type of thing. It's what people traditionally think of as an acoustic guitar, as opposed to like a flat, skinny kind of Stratocaster or a Les Paul.
Oh, all right.
Which are, so
Okay,
you
I get
get
it.
that. I mean, you plug it in, but you get that nice sound like that.
Yeah. The resonance.
That's acoustic, and for the most part, if you're not going to plug in, no one's going to be able to hear you. Even in a small coffee house, you're not going to be able to hear. And I use a little Bose system that you just plug right in, and it's just a no-brainer, and it works very well.
Now I'm gonna ask you to change. I'm gonna change gears here. What's the downside of being a musician?
It depends on what level you want to be. I mean, I have, unfortunately, if we want to get serious about this, I have friends in their 50s and 60s who did music their whole. I was about 30, 31, 32 when I said, hey, I went back and got an MBA after my bachelor's in music education from Berkeley. I'm there, hey, if you want to get serious, you want to make some half-decent money, you want to buy a nice house like the houses we have in this town, you need to make real money. So the downside is a lot of people in the 50s and 60s, just the nature of music, because it's ad hoc, it's 1099. You get a check, you spend it. It's not like, it's harder to do 401ks. It's harder for medical. I have musician friends right now, it's costing them $1,000 a month or so, $12,000 a year, just for medical. So
They have no group to be in.
Right, because they're just independent contractors in essence. So a lot of them, unfortunately, many of them never got married, didn't have kids, didn't buy a house, so they don't have equity in a house, don't have retirement. And so you're getting up to 60s. A lot of them, taxes are an issue. So they haven't built up Social Security, so they'll get the very bare minimum of Social Security.
Well,
and then once, I lost a friend this week who had heart issues, and I think he was hurting financially as well. It's just.
Well, it's true for my nephew as well. I mean, my brother helped him get a house, but he was thinking, well, what am I going to do? I mean, I think it's something that he should have done what you did a long time ago. But I wanted to ask.
Let me interrupt you for a second. Part of that too is what you can do. You can cobble a living together. You can work in 7 different projects and teach on the side. You don't have to be a public school teacher, which you do need a degree in. You teach in the private lessons sort of
That's
thing.
what he does,
And
yeah.
my undergraduate was music education. When I graduated in the 70s, I was author. Back then they didn't have certifications. You just got, in Berkeley, had a K through 12, 50 states. So, but you can cobble a living together and do fairly well. And especially if you're married, maybe your wife, a lot of musician friends of mine are married and their wives have regular jobs, what we call in the music world straight jobs,
Right.
9 to 5 sort of jobs. And that kind of works, but your question, I mean, what is the downside? The downside is economically, it's the arts, and the arts are difficult to make money with.
I meant more from the lifestyle
Yeah.
point of view. What?
Yeah,
what's the-
I mean, again, to be serious, I mean, I was graduated from Berkeley. I taught for a little while in Cambridge, and pretty much went on the road for 2 years straight. Came home for a couple of weeks at a time, but it was 50 weeks a year, 6 nights a week, 4 sets a night. And my joke has always been, we made $200 a week and we spent $210. And but drugs. Substance abuse, alcohol, because you just up.
You mean
all
in
night.
the ambiance,
Just
in
the
the
nature
in
of
the
the business. So drugs have always been an issue, and alcohol has always been an issue. Tobacco. So a lot of them, when they get in their 50s and 60s, I'm amazed at some of the hard rockers from my days. The Keith Richards are still alive.
Oh my God! Isn't
and
he
they
something?
did so much, and they had access to the stuff. But music is tough. It's a night lifestyle, and it wears on you after a while.
I would think so. I would think that would be. So do you feel like it's just, in other words, just being exposed to the drugs and the alcohol? I mean, it becomes hard to resist because you're
I think
tired
so.
and because
I think so, because you're up. When you do a gig and it's like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. And you just don't want to go to bed. You just want to stay up and you hang out at the bar with the people who work in the bar, and you're having a good time.
You can't
and
very
that's
well
cool
sit there.
when you're 23, 24, and 25. But after 2 years of that, I had enough of it and came back to Boston. And when I came back to Boston, I ended up in an original band that was a lot of fun. We were on MTV, the MTV, in the early 80s.
Were you a regular part of the show?
No, our video got played twice.
I see. Oh, okay.
That was it. And I was in the Rock and Roll Rumble with the WBCN. Boston was a very, very hot town for music in the early 80s. It's not anymore. The hottest cities in this country right now are LA, Nashville, and New York. And when people graduate from Berkeley these days, even the kids, international kids, 95% of them move to those 3 cities.
But Nashville's mostly country or no longer?
No, it's everything. All 3 of those cities are everything. Yeah, pop is more LA, country is more Nashville, New York is an amalgamation of jazz and everything else. But if you want to make it in the business, those are the 3 industry towns you got to go to.
And not Chicago?
No.
Because there must be a huge entertainment scene in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. It's just, but if you want to get noticed, if you want to get in the industry, if you want to make it to the next level, you got to be in those 3 cities.
Now, did you ever sign with anybody?
Nope. When I graduated Berkeley, my goal was to move to LA and be a studio musician because I knew I was not a singer enough, and I was never going to be the front guy. I was always going to be a background guitar player. And we talked about this off camera that I played with the Platters. I was the guy in the background, with, and that was
Love
my
that
goal.
music.
But then I went on the road, and I was in love, and so I wanted to be with my wife, whom I'm with now, but way back then. So I decided not to do that to LA thing. But back in the 70s, LA was the city to move to.
Yeah.
But Boston was hot too, with the Cars, Jagos, Aerosmith.
Yep.
You think of Boston, all those big bands, the biggest bands of our time came from the city.
Yeah, I think my brother probably, my nephew probably would have done a lot better but he stayed in D.C. and he stayed in that,
Yeah,
you know.
DC is good corporate.
Yeah,
gigs.
you know,
Yeah, you can
and the
make a
government
living.
things and
Right,
the,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know. Oh, listen, this has been great.
Great.
I loved it.
Great.
Talking to you. Well,
Great.
thank you so much for being on.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching Norfolk Notables. My guest today was Bill McGoldrick. Thank you for watching.